Many of us do know where we should be starting, but we do not have the initial belief that we must have to use as fuel to build momentum. Is there somebody in your life that you can borrow belief from? If so, who is it? And how do you get a hold of them? And how do you start that conversation?
I don't want anyone to ever get off this podcast having listened to it and not feel a little more fired up. I want them to feel a little bit more aspirational, a little bit more intelligent, a little bit more motivated, a little bit more inspired, a little bit more educated.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was number 1195. Don't lose yourself in the journey. Today, for episode number 1196, whose belief can you borrow? Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. Happy holidays to you wherever you are in the world. It's interesting. Alan and I just had a very heated, I don't want to say heated, a very spirited discussion about business and 2023 and how things are going to go. And passionate. That's a good way to put it. Passionate. And this episode really is inspired by Alan and I's relationship. So I was on a podcast recently, and one of the questions I get asked most often is, how does somebody build confidence? Because I always try to say, I know I probably seem like a very confident human being. I know I probably seem like I'm not afraid of anything I'm doing, but I've just done this 1,800 times, 1,500, 1,600, whatever. However many episodes I've done this many, many times. That's why I am perceived as so confident. I said, but you have to understand, at the beginning of this journey, I borrowed other people's belief, whether it was mentors or Alan mentors, you do fall into that bucket. And that was really the cheat code that I don't know if I just had that other people don't, or if I just realized, or it's because you pushed me so much. But this is a question. If you want to do something that you do not currently believe you can do, who can you call into your life? Who can you seek out? Who can you talk to? Who can you lean on that can potentially pour belief into your dreams, your goals, your aspirations? This is my thought. I believe the reason most people do not accomplish their goals is because most people don't try to accomplish their goals because they don't believe in them. And if you don't believe in it, you're not going to take action. And you're going to literally be stuck in the cycle of, I don't believe it's possible, therefore I don't try, therefore I'll never get that result. But what happens when somebody comes into your life and says, hey, why don't you just give it a shot? Or the Amy Mall story, come to the mall with me, Amy, and we'll fear chase and we'll approach people. Quick context for that. Amy, who's on the team, Amy D, who's on the team, we have two Amy's now. She reached out to me 4 years ago and said, I'm afraid to start conversations with strangers. She borrowed my belief and came to the mall with me, and we had conversations with strangers. She literally borrowed my belief. That's what she did. And now she has her own level of belief, and now she is able to let other people borrow that. I think that's it at the end of the day. Many of us understand what we should be doing. Many of us do know where we should be starting, but we do not have the initial belief that we must have to use as fuel to build momentum. Is there somebody in your life that you can borrow belief from? If so, who is it? And how do you get a hold of them? And how do you start that conversation?
Well, I think the first thing to understand is you can't give away something that you don't have. And who was I on the phone with recently? I was on a coaching call and I was talking about this. Who was it? Yeah, so it was one of my clients who is having a really hard time finding other people who are on fire like her. And what she means by this is not like she's better than anyone else or anything like that. What she means is she's much more intense. She's much more passionate. She's much more driven. She's much more hungry. We'll use hunger. I think hunger is a really good example. So picture someone who just ate a full meal and they're completely full and they're completely satisfied. They're just sitting there relaxing. That's all good. We've all been there. Now picture someone who hasn't eaten in 20 hours. Who's going to be more incentivized to get up and go get food? She has a very, very high level of self-belief and hunger. She does not want to just relax. She does not want to just to just play small. She does not want to do small things. She does not want to just get a 9-to-5 or just go get a part-time job or whatever. She literally is creating an app that she wants to be on TikTok and LinkedIn and Snapchat on that kind of level. And that's awesome. Sorry, I had to burp. So there's not a lot of people, and this is the honest truth. There's not a lot of people in her life, and this is honestly one of her challenges. There's not a lot of people in her life who can like pour into that. And what I said to her is this, is like, I can fuel your fire, but that's because my fire is burning. So the analogy here is like, if I have a fire over here and Kevin has a fire over there and my fire's huge and his isn't lit, I can take a log from my fire and go and light his. But if my fire is out and I'm really struggling and I'm not lit and I'm not on fire and I'm not passionate and I'm not believing in myself and I'm not getting after it, I can't light Kevin's fire. If anything, I'm going to have to take from his fire. And I think that, and this is what I said to the client, there's not a lot of people that can fuel your fire. Your fire is already booming or very, very big. Very few people can actually add to that. Unless their fire's lit more than yours, you're always going to feel a little bit like they took away rather than gave. And one of the things that I share with all my clients, and that's really one of the main benefits to being a client of mine, this is not a sales pitch, this is just what I've come to recently. I can fuel your fire because I have extra. Like, I'm constantly pouring like gasoline on people's fires. Constantly. Like, you're never going to get in my corner and not have me like really like, yo, you got this. Like, you can do, like, let's do this thing. I had a call with someone yesterday and she was trying to get clients. She recorded an episode right after the meeting and pitched her coaching. And I guarantee you she's going to get a client. And when she does, it's going to be because of a conversation we had where I was like, you effing got this. I'm certain you can do this. You're more than ready. Let's go. But if I didn't believe in myself, what are the chances I'm going to say that? If I wasn't already a coach who's already gotten clients, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, no, it is. It's tough. Like, I don't know if it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work. Right? You can't give away what you don't have. And one thing that I've come to understand, and Emilia told me this, she said, you got to be careful with your gold. You give it to everybody all the time. You got to be careful, right? You got to be sparing and discerning with who you give your belief to. Because self-belief is hard to come by. It's not common. It's like gold. And you have to be very careful with giving it away to everyone indiscriminately. And that's a me issue for sure. But I don't ever want to I don't want anyone to ever get off this podcast having listened to it and not feel a little more fired up. I want them to feel a little bit more aspirational, a little bit more intelligent, a little bit more motivated, a little bit more inspired, a little bit more educated, specifically educated. We can't educate you if we're not educated. I was literally on the treadmill last night watching a leadership training. For 25 minutes, I was on the treadmill watching a leadership training, and then I did leg day while listening to this training. So good. So good. And I'm sitting there like, I am now more fired up because I filled my tank with gasoline too. And now I can pour gasoline on Kevin's fire today, which I think I've done, and then on all the listeners' fire. And that's the cool part, Kev. We get to do this for 20 minutes, and then it could be 4,000 people who hear this. That's 20 minutes for each of us, 40 minutes total of our fire, and look at what it can do. Because that's actually scalable. And so, yeah, if you don't believe in yourself, you got to get around people who believe in themselves because they can't give you belief if they don't have it. They really can't. And I want to say one more thing real quick, Kev. I'm sorry. I was on the phone with another team member. And I want to share this with the listeners because this is important. I was talking to this client of mine and I said, listen, when I'm on the phone with someone who doesn't believe in themselves, I don't leave the call believing in myself more. So I'll keep this anonymous, but one of our team members struggles with self-belief. I'm pouring into her. It's not like I'm like getting off the call, like pumped to go get after it more. She didn't light my fire more. My fire's already lit to a certain extent, right? This is a spectrum. But like, it's not like there's not a lot of people that I get off the phone with and I'm more motivated than I was before. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with Emilia, it's always motivating and inspiring for me. Genuinely, there are moments where I'm like, I don't know if I'm as good a person as her. Like, it's unbelievable. She can literally light my fire because hers is lit more than mine is. Not always, but sometimes. And so that's the analogy here, is like the people in your life, that's a big thing. Are their fires lit? Are they getting after it? Are they excited for 2023? And NLU, if I'm not the most excited for 2023, how is the NLU team going to succeed? How I'm supposed to be the most ignited, the most excited, the most motivated, if I don't believe in NLU, why should any of these listeners? Why should you? Why should the NLU team? Like, and if you have people around you that don't have self-belief and don't have their fires lit, you got to check in on that, because you're literally just not ignited. You can feel it too. It's like, I'm like kind of off. I don't feel motivated. I'm not getting after it. You and I in fitness, we used to motivate the hell out of each other. And we used to be around bodybuilders all the time, and we used to have fitness shows, and we used to be around people stronger than us. And now it's like, shit, not as motivated as I once was. We thought that fire was coming from within. It's not. It's coming from your environment, and some of it from within, of course, but obviously not as much as we thought.
Or had hoped.
Yeah, exactly.
I got somebody that I was on their show, they messaged me recently, and I just messaged him back and said, hey, I hope everything, thanks for reaching out. I hope everything's going well. And they reached back out and they said, things kind of suck. I'm going through this. I'm going through this. And they said, I wish I could I can't afford a call right now. I love a consulting call, but I can't afford it. And I said, look, just send me what you're going through in audio messages on Instagram. I said, I'll get back to them as soon as I can. Obviously I can't do it right away, but I'll get back to it as soon as I can. And this person sent me 5 or 6 audio messages. And it's interesting because really, at the end of the day, what this person's really looking for is they're looking for guidance and belief. They're looking for guidance that I am on the right path, belief that the things I'm going to do in the future are actually going to work, and belief that if they don't work, I know how to fix them and I know how to make them work. That's really all it is. And it's so interesting where this person said, yeah, I want to make money with a podcast, but I don't think I can. All I have to say is, well, here's 3 ways to do it. Now, at least you believe it's possible. You might not believe it's possible for you yet. That's okay. Maybe that'll come with reps, or that'll come with practice, that'll come with knowledge, whatever. But that's really what a lot of us are looking for. Why do we listen to motivational things? Because we want to believe. We want to have that level of belief. Why does somebody's story move you? Because you believe that if they went through what they went through and were successful, maybe you can be too. I really think that's what a lot of us are looking for. But the problem is belief for many of us is not, it's finite. It runs out if you don't use it. And all I mean by that is this. You can listen to this episode. Say Alan and I did an unreasonably motivational episode where we talked about, yeah, we went through this, we've been through this, and this is where we are today. And you left and you were like, wow, I believe in myself more now because I know that I can use my adversity as an advantage. If you do nothing with that belief, it's going to go away. It's not just with you forever. You have to take action. So it's almost like belief is the opportunity for momentum. And then when you take action, you get momentum, and then you believe in yourself at a new level. That's all it is. And people ask me that all the time. How do you build confidence? You figure out what is a level 2 fear. Where are you at? I'm at a level 1. What's a level 2 fear? This. All right, cool. You have to borrow belief enough to do that, and then realize, wow, it's not as hard as I thought, and then do that repeatedly. Boom, 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 boom. And then when you're at level 2, you borrow somebody else's belief, and then you do it again, but for level 3. You ever heard the term liquid courage? When you drink, you're brave because you have... My light just flickered. I hope I'm not losing power. You have belief in what you're about to do. You believe it is possible for you. I used to do that all the time. When I would be out, that's why when I would go out to the bars, Alan, I would drink because I believed in myself more when I drink. We're in a way.
Why do you think that is?
Because I think it shuts off the part of your brain that, I mean, that.
Shuts off fears.
Yeah, it shuts off fears and inhibitors.
Rational thought.
Yeah. It shuts off a lot of the stuff that you need, but that's why I think people say liquid courage, because I believe in myself.
It shuts off the protectors.
Yeah.
It shuts off the alarm bells of like self protection. You know, how many reckless things have you done drunk?
All of them.
I've definitely, same.
All of them.
It shuts off I think it shuts off a lot of fears. That's interesting. That was an interesting moment for me. I never really thought about it like that.
Well, you hear people say liquid courage. I think that's all it is you believe in yourself more. Or you believe that if something goes wrong.
I think fear lowers. I don't think you believe in yourself more. I think fear lowers. And
Fair.
So you said something really profound there. We used to say faith versus fear.
As I do.
I don't want to say that anymore, because I think it makes more sense to say belief versus fear. So if you have a level 2 fear, you need to have a level 3 belief.
Yep.
In order to overcome that.
Hey guys, so I wanted to give a little bit of my experience about group coaching. I'm learning stuff, I'm applying the habits, and I have other people that's doing the same exact thing. One of the biggest things that I think I gained from group coaching is when I went through that month of being so sick, I was so determined that I would just try to do as much as I could. And I just couldn't wait until I felt good enough to get back to doing all of them. I've just seen so much growth in myself, and I am so appreciative to have the group, to have, that immersive experience. And I really appreciate all that y'all do.
I was on the phone with a client recently, and we talked about 2023, and we wrote out all of his goals, like line item by line item. It was, 10,000 a month, all the way down to like, I want to lose 20 pounds in 2023. And honestly, he's on track for that. We did the graph. He's on track for that if he can keep up the trend line, which is a big if. I said 0 to 10, how much do you believe this is possible? 0 to 10, how much do you believe this is possible for you? And then 0 to 10, how much do you believe this will be worth it? We went down the list. I think there was 5, which I was proud of him, because anything more than that, and you're just going to be spread really thin. These are the important ones. And we went through it 10, 10, 10. Okay, 10, 7, 10. 10, 7, 6. Oh, 6 worth it? You're not going to do that one. No way. It's only going to be worth it at level 6. Why are we even doing it, right? So we go through it. We do the percentages. So what I did is, and I won't go deep into the math here, I essentially added it up and then did the percentages, and I calculated the percent chance that he achieves all 5 of the goals. The probability. It's a statistics and probability equation. But the probability of him achieving all of the goals came out to like 64.7%. And it's like, okay, why is that the probability? Because honestly, here's the pain points. You only believe in this one is possible for you at a 7. Okay, why? Well, honestly, it's kind of hard to grow Ethereum. It's crypto stuff. But it's like, okay, well, what would you have to do in order to believe in that at a level 10? And it's like, well, I would have to make sure I spend an hour every single day on this Ethereum trading. And it's like, okay, well, that's doable. For this person, he's very, very disciplined, like totally doable. But here's my point. Everything in life starts with belief. And I wonder to myself, like, how can you achieve anything if you don't believe in yourself?
Can't. Really. You really can't. Because it shuts off the ability to take action.
So it's almost like... So Kev told me this before this episode. He said, I'm concerned about what that might do to the team. So in 2023, we're going to shoot for $1 million in gross revenue. So we're going to be $1 million business in 2023. That's the goal, okay? Even if we overshot and we miss, at least we'll double. And I'm like, that's awesome. But you said you're afraid of what that might do to the team in terms of perception of that. Like, we would be seen as losing because we set a big goal. Is the $1 million just inspiring, or is it defeating? Is it overwhelming? Like, I know how to do it, and I know how we would do it, and it's definitely a stretch based on where we're at right now, but it is possible. If you had to give me probabilities of that happening, I'd say probably 70% if we really pour it on. That's probably optimistic. Probably 50%. But it's really up to me in a way as to whether or not we do it. It's kind of like, how much am I willing to sacrifice in order to make that happen? And is that what's optimal for my holistic well-being and for the long term? And it's not just on me, so I don't want to make it about me, but I believe in it more than I think the team does. So it kind of is up to me in a way. You know what I mean? So I just had that moment. Can you explain this to the listeners' belief in like what you've learned over the years? I don't think I can talk about this because I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
With that specifically, or just in general belief?
That specifically, I think, would be valuable.
It's very...
like, how much do you believe in that?
Million?
Yeah.
Very little. Very little.
Really?
So this is the interesting thing. I kind of have to believe in it very little, because if I was setting the goal, I would never set that goal. So it's basically a double. So if we were going to make 300,000 this year, I would say 600,000 next year.
Okay.
Double.
How much do you believe in that?
85%, 90%.
Okay. Nice.
I think it's doable based on past data. If I go and believe what you say, it's just because I'm borrowing your belief. So how much of your belief am I willing to borrow? Not if you only have, how much do you believe? Your camera is freaking out. How much? It's like, wow. How much do you believe that we can make $1 million?
I'm certain we can, but what will that do to me? Do you know what I mean? It's 100% doable. It's whether or not we want it bad enough.
How do you quantify that? Can you quantify like the specifics? So
Yeah,
it's 100%
my fitness
doable.
would take a major hit. My relationship would take a major hit. And we would take a long-term hit because of that.
Yeah.
It's almost, for me, it's more, what are we willing to sacrifice? It's always an optimal stopping problem of it's honestly possible to do 2 million next year. To do that with integrity and holistic and have a great relationship and have a great physique and no, hell no. That's why business owners are they struggle with fitness and their relationships. Business owners, quite frankly, statistically speaking, they have a hard time in their intimate relationships and their family life and their fitness. And there's a reason for that.
Well, that's why we set this up the way we did. That's when we mean holistic, that's what we mean. Or when we say holistic, that's what we mean. Okay. So with all of that said, it's 100% possible for me to squat 500 pounds. I could squat 500 pounds. I know that. So I'm certain of it.
Okay.
I definitely could. It's just a matter of, am I willing to do what it takes?
Yep.
Based on your understanding of what it would take from you, myself, and every member of the team, what's the probability?
Of me squatting 500?
No.
This year? No chance.
The million.
Oh.
Making the million.
Oh. What's the probability? Assuming I don't want my relationship and my fitness to take a massive hit.
Assuming you find the sweet spot. Assuming you're able to find the sweet spot.
I'd say it's a good chance.
What number?
90%.
Jesus. Okay.
But it's very hard to do this because there's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variables. I'm 100% certain it's possible. I'm 100% certain it's possible for us if we want it bad enough. I'm not 100% sure it'll be worth it.
Fair.
And I think that third one is the key. Is is it going to be worth it? Not necessarily. And then what will that do to the long term? But I can also understand why belief is such a challenge for people, because I was wrong about the marathon. I thought I could do the whole thing without walking. I ended up having to walk the last quarter of it. But I crushed the half marathon. It was really quite easy. Genuinely. I could do a half marathon today, easily. And I know that now. I know that. And this was also in the hot sun around a track, 106. I'm holding my phone. I literally was holding my phone. There was a lot of mistakes. I also did it dehydrated. It doesn't matter. This isn't about me. This is about belief. Everyone's inaccurate in their beliefs to some extent. Either optimistic or pessimistic. Everyone's inaccurate. It's just to what percentage are you inaccurate? So it's hard for me to say what percentage I'm inaccurate. And at the end of the day, what I do know for certain is that we'll be better off, at least for me and the way I think, we'll be better off shooting for 1 million than if we didn't shoot for it, because I'll think differently. I'll behave differently. I'll optimize differently. I'll be more effective in less time. I'll set up the team more effectively. You know, I think that for me, it helps me to think that big, because honestly, the humble pie is good for me anyway.
No.
But I think for some people, it isn't, because they need more self-esteem or more self-belief. And so I'm trying to find the sweet spot between how do you help someone build their self-belief by setting the proper goals versus crushing the self-belief. Will it hurt your self-belief if we don't hit 1 million?
No, because I don't expect to.
Right. Okay.
It will hurt my self-belief if we don't double.
Same. Yeah.
Because I do
This
believe
is interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. I do believe that's possible.
Question, and we go. What did you used to think about self-belief versus now? I really think we should just unpack that for a little bit, because I think you believe in yourself way more than you used to.
Yeah.
And you still kind of don't believe in yourself enough, in my opinion. And that's okay, because we had a conversation earlier today that was like, whoa, like, you're going to be fine. What can you give the listeners about self-belief? What did you used to believe about it versus now?
It's hard. I used to think it was, you either had it or you didn't. I just thought it was like an on-off switch. That's what I used to think. I used to think that you either believed in yourself or you didn't. And I think it's not that. It's what level do you believe in yourself at, in certain arenas, at certain times. There's a lot. There's way more that goes into it than I ever realized, which is why it makes sense to me that most people don't believe in themselves after they listen to new content. Because it's almost like the content that's out there to help you believe in yourself is for people who believe in themselves already. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of set up where
almost some people who believe in themselves more than they should, which is interesting.
But it's almost like a lot of the financial advice that's out there is set up for people who are already financially free, kind of. It's like you should take all your money and put it into real estate. It's like, well, that's good. I have $3.75 in my bank account. Like, what do you want me to do with that? Like, to buy the key to the house, where there's other people that have, they're wealthy. It's like, oh yeah, that is a really good idea for me. I think a lot of people just don't, you have to contextually understand where you are in the journey. That it's like, there are some people, I don't believe that you should believe that you're capable of stepping on stage in front of 25,000 people yet, because you're probably not. And that's disempowering. If you believe you're capable of stepping on stage in front of 25,000 people, what are you going to do differently to actually step on stage in front of 25,000 people? I don't believe I'm capable of fighting the best fighters in the world and winning. I don't believe that. That would be a disempowering belief. I get my ass kicked. I get hurt really
100%.
bad. Really bad.
I think what it comes down to, and I just had this moment, I think it's how accurate can you be in your belief. I think most people are just inaccurate, including myself. I was inaccurate about the marathon. I know that. There was a lot of factors I did not put into play. Dehydration, 90-degree weather, my injury. But I'm more accurate now after having tried. So I think that's what it is if you have enough belief to at least try, then you'll get more accurate. Whereas with people who don't have enough belief to at least try, they're never going to level set their belief.
I don't think it's about having high belief. I think it's about having accurate belief. I don't think anything is. I don't think high self-worth is what the goal is. I think accurate self-worth is.
Same.
Because if you have high self-worth, it's almost like if you have high self-worth, you stop taking the actions that actually brought you the self-worth in the beginning, when the goal is to be accurate. The goal is to be accurate. And if you're not taking the appropriate, I heard something in a book the other day, Alan, that really was interesting for me, and it shifted a lot for me. When you sign up for a goal, you also must subconsciously set up for the appropriate amount of work. Appropriate amount, whatever that means. And again, it's contextual. There's a lot that goes into that.
The accurate amount of work.
The accurate amount.
Yeah.
I like
which
appropriate.
No one really knows.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing.
When you have a level 2 belief, you should be taking appropriate actions. when you have a level 10 belief, you should be, Alan comes in with a level 10 belief. He says, I'm going to go run a marathon. Perfect. That's great. That's exactly what you should have done because it brought you down to whatever, 7, 6, whatever.
I'm more accurate now. Yeah.
Perfect. Me, I can't do a podcast speech, or I can't do a speech. Well, and even that, even speaking in front of 50 people for the first time might have been too much for me at the time. I don't know, but I believed in myself more. I went from a 1 to a 3. Oh, wow. You know what? I can do this. The next time we did another speech, I treated myself like a 10 and I bombed the speech. That brought me right down to 3 again. So
the big swings are tough.
They are brutal. They make you question everything. If you aren't taking action, you're inaccurate. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah, and I know that's a blanket statement, but I don't know that you can be accurate with your understanding of self if you're not actually taking action, because there's a lot of outside factors that play into this.
Action is and that's one of the things of like, I can say we can shoot for 1 million, but I'm not certain because there's a lot of factors. I do know it's possible. I don't know that it will definitely happen. I don't even know. Here's what I would say. This is cool. I know it's possible. I'm not certain it's optimal. That's what I would say. And by optimal, I mean, is that the best, most aligned choice? Or are we going to have to run around like chickens with our head cut off all year at the expense of our future and our health and our relationships, which we're not willing to do? No, I'm not willing to do that. If it wasn't for, I will never put this business above my relationship with Emilia. I won't do it. It's too important to me. This would be more empty without her. You know, holistic is the way. It's the only way for us. And I hope the listeners are understanding that too, because if someone has all these results in one area and that's all you're focused on, what if you're comparing to their one genius zone in their one thing they focused on when you actually have better results holistically? That's not right, you know? And I think there's a lot of business owners out there that have achieved a lot of financial success that got divorced and hurt their marriages. Some of them are my mentors, and they hurt their health big time. And it's like, if they could go back, would they do that again? I don't know, you know? And so that's the philosophical discussion. But when it comes to self-belief, try to have as accurate belief as possible. Most people undershoot. I think, honestly, most people undershoot. There's a percentage of the population that overshoots. I tend to be on that end. Just know thyself, know yourself, temet noske. And if you think you're undershooting, try something a little, like bump it up a couple digits. See how it goes. Try to get closer to 5. If you think you're overshooting, go try something hard. Yeah. Go try something really hard and get that humble pie.
You got to try. Whatever it is, most likely you need some sort of outside influence to prove you right or wrong. Really, that's all that's happening. You're getting proof that you're accurate or inaccurate. And then there's really no way to do that other than by trying the thing that you believe you can do or you don't believe you can do. Is it that simple? Probably not. Does it sound that simple? Yes, it does. Next level nation. And again, last thing I'll say, we started this by saying, whose belief can you borrow? So who do you have in your life? Maybe it's this podcast. I love that. Maybe it's the book you're reading. Maybe it's a YouTube channel. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a mentor, coach. That's what you should be doing often. Because if you listen to this podcast and you go do something new after you listen to it, guess what? You might have just shifted your belief forever. But it's very hard to shift your belief if you don't take action. If you are looking to take more action in 2023, our 9th round of group coaching starts January 3rd. Link is in the show notes. Please join if you are interested. With the 6-month payment plan, I think it ends up being less than $50 a month with the listener discount that we can give you. Boom.
Yeah, reach out to Kevin or myself if you want the promo code. It's specific for listeners and community members of NLU. Speaking of this episode on belief, our next monthly meetup is setting clear goals for 2023 that actually build belief. In other words, if you're setting a goal that's outrageous and then you try to shoot for it and you're constantly demoralized, that's actually going to crush your belief. Versus if you set a goal at level 3, when you have level 2 belief, that will actually build your belief because it's a little outside your comfort zone, but it's not outrageous. And so that's what we're going to talk about. How do you set yourself up in 2023 to actually stick with it for the long term? I'm convinced that one of the reasons people aren't consistent is they have very inaccurate expectations. Oh, I want to start a podcast. Oh, well, I only got 2,000 listens in the first year. That's double what we did. But no one knows that. right? So it's very important to just understand you got to set clear goals that are not going to demoralize you, that are going to keep building momentum and building belief. That's what that meetup is about. January 5th, 2023. The link will be in the show notes. We already have over 10 people registered, so I hope you join us.
Please join us. Next Level Nation tomorrow for episode number 1197. What's the kick in the butt that you need? I had a very interesting conversation with a client recently, and that is what came out of that. It was a powerful, aligned conversation, so I'm very glad we had it. Again, Merry Christmas if you celebrate. If not, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. I hope you had a great weekend. We will talk to you tomorrow. As always, at NLU, we do not have fans, we have family. We'll see you tomorrow.
We will see you at the next level.